what was the next thing you found your passion in once you kinda got to high school? You kinda got situated in where you were at, you started making some new friends, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Was
Yeah.
there this another thing that, like, aligned with you at this point?
In high school?
Yeah.
Um, for me in high school, it was, I loved making new friends. I loved the social aspect. School, I don't remember there being one thing in school that I felt passionate about, to be honest. Like, I never felt like school came easy for me. I was diagnosed with ADHD in high school. Um, so I was a distraction in my classes, and all my teachers complained because I was constantly talking to people. And so um, my parents ended up medicating me. And then I went into this dark hole of not feeling myself for a amount of time on this medication, and ended up stopped taking it because I hated the way it made me feel. But um, I was like a pretty naturally happy person, and I loved yeah, I loved being at school, just the actual classes and what we were learning. It just nothing stuck out to me. Like, I don't remember being super passionate about anything in particular.
Do you think there was and I like discussing dark holes, so if I hit a spot, just feel free to push back.
No, you're good.
Do you think there was any correlation with you going on this medication and well, maybe I should phrase it a little differently. It sounded like you kinda, like, went into a dark hole, you said. So and you said there was nothing, like, really happy or fulfilling. Do you feel like there was a correlation between taking, prescription, I guess, Adderall or anything like that?
To be honest, I was still happy, and it was honestly short-lived, this dark hole medication, because I realized pretty quickly that I hated the way it made me feel. And I would just my parents thought I was taking it, and I stopped taking it, and I just wouldn't take it anymore because I didn't like the effects of it. But and then eventually they stopped making me take it. But um I was a pretty happy person in high school, and I was a very always smiling, fun loving, high energy, very similar to who I am today. But I don't think it correlated with, the passion. I got, A's, B's, and C's in school. I wasn't, failing out of anything. I did, cheerleading for a little bit, did soccer for a little bit. I was involved in a sense, but more for, the social aspects. I wasn't, really good at sports or anything. I wasn't super passionate about sports. Um, I don't know. I don't think I found my passion till later.
Whenever you were in college or, whenever you were maybe even in high school, give us, like, a little bit of a timeline of what you thought in those years about spirituality, about manifestation, about crystals, anything in
Yeah.
that kind of realm.
So my mom, did you watch The Secret, the documentary?
I have not.
Okay, so when that came out, I was probably 10, and my mom was obsessed with it. So I watched it with her a couple times, and I don't think it really fully I grasped all the information at that age, but she raised me instilling a lot of that in me, like law of attraction, we made vision boards together. I already kind of had that um foundation, which was really awesome because I grew up with that mindset and didn't really know it. And I don't even remember really knowing the term law of attraction then, but as I learned it later on in life, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is what my mom basically raised me on." And so I wouldn't consider that at that age, being in high school, college, I don't know if I considered myself spiritual yet. I don't remember thinking about manifestation or knowing what those words were and how to I remember having deep thoughts about life and the meaning of life, but I don't think I was considered I didn't have my spiritual awakening at that point in time yet.
It was kinda more just like it sounds like, at least to me, it was, like, more like a logical construct almost.
More so, but not really logical, more of I think in the grand scheme of things, it was very much aligned with the concepts of manifestation, with that mindset and law of attraction and energy. I was big on energy, just naturally because I grew up in that environment. My mom was pretty spiritual. Um, Maybe I was familiar with the term spiritual, but I don't know if I was I'm spiritual yet at that point in my life. Um, I'm still at this point figuring out who I am, exploring, going through, different chapters. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at mindset wise.
I guess that's kinda the interesting thing though too, right? Is if you don't really know what you're doing, you might not be aligned with picking what you truly want, right?
Totally, and I think when you don't really know what you want, that confuses the universe, and so if you don't know what you want but at the time, I thought, "Maybe I want this," but I was, like, 11 years old, so it obviously shifts and changes. I mean, even as we grow up, we change what we want, and, um, I think being intentional and, like, decisive is really important.
Right. And I mean, even on top of that, like, I feel like there's at least some part of the journey or some part of the travel is, having those intermediate things of, okay, well, let's say it's a car or something, right? Like, I want this car. And as you're progressing towards it, you start to realize, like, wait, like, this isn't like, yeah, I mean, a car would be nice, but this isn't really what I wanted, you know? And so to me, it feels like it's like one of those stepping stones.
Totally, or it could just be, like, something from the ego that you want instead of something that your soul wants, and so I feel like that happens all the time where you get the car and you're like, "Oh, this didn't really feel like I thought it would feel."
You feel like that there's a unhealthy amount of using the ego to, like, in with things that you might be wanting to manifest?
Like, me personally or just in general?
In general, if there's like I mean, personal experience or if like
I've
y
definitely used like, I've had experiences where I've manifested from the ego, and now I'm at the point where I can differentiate what is ego driven and what's not. Um, Here's the thing, if you're manifesting from the ego, you're still gonna get it. It doesn't deter you from getting it. It's just it's not gonna sometimes if it's not aligned, it might not happen, but I mean, it's not gonna feel the way you thought it would feel if it's ego driven. It's not gonna be, like, expansive and actually. Because I think at the end of the day, the reason why we want anything in life is because of the feelings that we think we're gonna feel when we achieve it or get it. And so, a big thing I've learned through my podcast too is that we need to focus on trying to embody the feelings in the present, like through the process, instead of waiting till the end. So we don't, get there and we're like, all right, what's next? Okay, like let's get to the next milestone, and we can actually enjoy the process. And so it's like when someone's coming across as needy or desperate, it's like you can feel that energy. You can really tell like, okay, this person is attached to the idea that they need to be in a relationship versus if someone doesn't need a relationship and they're happy on their own and they feel fulfilled and like satisfied in their life and they don't need to have someone else to make them happy and feel whole, that energy is so much more attractive. And that person is going to attract more to them because they're not in the state of need and lack. They're in a state of abundance. So it's like that mentality, if you can bring that energy to money and to business, like, I mean, for my own personal example, like I was, trying to hit X amount in sales every month, trying to place X amount of machines every month. And every month I wasn't seeing return. And so I got discouraged month over month. Like, why am I not hitting this? And then I got even more attached. Like, I need this to happen in order to, feel accomplished. I need this to happen in order to like pay myself X. Like, I was just attaching so hard onto, the numbers I needed to hit that I stopped like having fun in the process and I stopped feeling joy and I stopped actually enjoying the journey. And then COVID happened and it actually forced me to just like fall on my face. And it really taught me everything about detachment because I had nothing to attach to. Like my business literally almost crumbled and I had nothing to do for like 3 months. And luckily like loans helped us stay afloat. But like I realized like wow, my whole identity was my self-worth was like wrapped around my business. And so I needed to detach from my business in order to realize like, okay, I'm actually happy and whole and I am my own identity without my business. And once I realized that, I like didn't put that energy of lack and need into it. And I became okay with the idea that if my business were to shatter tomorrow, I will be okay and I will figure it out and I'll start something else. Or you have to be so okay with whatever it is that you want crumbling to pieces in order to like completely detach from it. And then when you show up with that energy, the universe rewards you because the universe is like, okay, this person is whole and happy and worthy on their own. They don't need anything else. So you're already becoming like a match to attracting it.
But back to spirituality. Is this playing any role in the success of you and the company? Are you meditating, doing any spiritual practices, maybe vision boards with regards to the company?
Yes. So I guess backtrack to my senior year of college, I was diagnosed with this like health condition um that basically I think was the catalyst for my like spiritual journey and more of like inward self-reflective journey where basically um it's a really random like health issue. But I had to get jaw surgery where essentially like the joints in my head became arthritic where they basically just started like resorbing and shrinking. So I found that out by my bite. Like I had braces growing up. My bite was like totally normal, but in college, my bite started morphing. And so like I had a really big open bite by the time I finished college. And the only way to fix this problem was to get reconstructive jaw surgery where they break your upper and lower jaw. You have to get braces after graduating college and they wire your mouth shut and like rebuild it back together. And so your mouth is wired shut for like a couple months and you really can only blend food and like drink liquids. And um, that entire journey for me was, I think, the start of like my own spiritual journey.
That's like what got the process started.
Yeah, because it was the first time where I mean, I felt extremely alone. I felt like a victim. I was like, "Why is this happening to me?" Like, I felt like that was my rock bottom, like, I was in a really low place, like, had to get braces after graduating college, like, you're supposed to start your life, not, like, reverse backwards when you know what I mean? And, like, having to go through that, well, I had a really bad lisp because my bite was open, and so was super self-conscious about how I was speaking, um I was going through skin issues, like acne at the time too, and um, just a bunch of things were going against me, I felt like, and this whole jaw surgery I felt was gonna like put me back. And that whole it was pretty much like a year of my life I had to really focus on like healing. And um, that's when I started meditating. I started journaling. I started watching YouTube videos of all these inspirational people who I still look up to this day, and learning way more about, like, the mindset and how important the mind really is. And, yeah, I think that was in 2017. That was the year after I graduated. The summer after I graduated is when I was, like, really forced for the first time to, like, reflect and dive inward.
And that's whenever you notably also started putting the vending machines up with 17.
Yeah, so that was, by the time I had my surgery, I had a couple machines out. They were in, like, random places, like a rock climbing gym, I can't remember other like a salon, like it was like random places that I convinced certain people to let us place the machines in to get some feedback. So it was the very beginning of our business. Um, but yeah, I remember my brother had to he was still in college in Austin and had to like fly out and help out with like the routes, which is cleaning and restocking the machines while I was like under in surgery for a couple months recovering.
Wow. So it really took a team effort to get it working.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it was a team effort from the beginning.
No, I could definitely relate to that though, and it's kind of something we also touched on was like, that need for structure versus that chaotic like, oh, well, this just feels right. And it's so hard. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but and maybe it's a masculine quality where it's just like so hard for you to kind of put your faith in something else, something else mystical, something else that's not you, like to trust your gut in a sense.
Yeah, but I feel like if you reframe thinking that it's not you, it is you, you know?
That's a good point. Well, that's getting pretty deep though there.
Yeah, it's like you just don't think about it. I don't think about it as like it's not me. I think about it as it's like you know, the real me.
The authentic.
Yeah, it's like your soul versus like
Yeah.
your ego.
So I guess it would be more of ego protection that would be keeping you from trusting your gut feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Cause the ego is like the brain that's trying to say, oh, but that's not rational. Oh, like it gaslights yourself. Like, you gaslight yourself saying, like, "Why are you," second guessing everything you're intuitively feeling, and then, you know, maybe you'll do what your ego wants, and you're like, "I should have not listened to that," and it made me get in this situation where now I, you know?
Mhm.
I regret it.
It's funny, when you were kinda, like, talking about that, I have actually kind of experienced the opposite, where I get that, like, intuitive download, and maybe it's kind of the same thing, but there's, like, one particular instance that's sticking out where you get that, like, I got a download, let's say, that it was like, okay, essentially something was never gonna happen again, and I was like, "Nope, fuck that," like, I'm gonna put all of my ego into making that thing happen again, and now we're sitting here, it still hasn't, but it's become that it becomes this like force of just like wanting it's like fighting yourself almost. It's like I want this to be wrong. It's like I want this intuitive thing to be wrong so that I'm right. But meanwhile, like you said, it's still a part of you. It's like you're having this internal war over something that isn't necessary.
Yeah, it's like you're battling with yourself. It's like, why can't we just become in alignment and not be fighting ourselves?